Hello, hello, hello. It is day 2 of our money challenge. And today, one of the speakers was one of my favorite aspects of money because it's all about the emotional blocks, like the emotions that are blocking your money. So I wanted to just point these out because I'll never forget when I first learned this. Hello. I'll never forget when I first learned this. It literally blew my brain and then changed my life. So I'm not an expert on the topic. I'm just going to give my how I've been applying it. And then obviously if you're in the inner circle tomorrow, we have a guest trainer who was the one who taught me this. I took her course and I asked her to come teach you guys. So we'll be learning from her there. And then she's also a guest speaker in the series, so you'll hear from her there. And then if you're in the series, it was our speaker from today, Coach Neil Mason, who talked a little bit more about the emotions. So what I wanted to bring up for anybody who's just connecting with me but isn't in the series or not in the inner circle and actually learning from these people is the power of just our emotion and our mindset when it comes to our money. So I wrote down some of the things that shocked me, and one of the biggest ones that I'll just start with the biggest one because some of them are a little obvious once you think about it, but this one really blew my mind. So I was listening to this training on wealth, and she was talking about how unforgiveness is hi Tara, unforgiveness is one of the biggest emotions that blocks our money. And if you really think about that, we all have somebody or something that has happened to us that we haven't forgiven or that we should be forgiving. And if you're a Bible follower, it's biblical. Forgiveness is one of the biggest principles and laws of God. We get to forgive people. And so it's just interesting if you have any type of resentment towards somebody in your past, something in your upbringing, if you got this resentment energy towards your circumstances, towards literally it's that friction of I'm a victim of my circumstance. I'm a victim of my past. My parents didn't do this, or my parents did that, or this person did this to me, or because of my daddy issues, or because of my mommy issues, or because of my siblings, I was the middle child, I was the oldest, I had to take on responsibility. We have little chips of unforgiveness inside of our being all over us. It's in us to have these little chips of maybe I'm not mad at my parent or my sibling or my circumstance where I hate them, but I have this chip on my shoulder towards a certain happening or a certain person. All of that unforgiveness is what will come in and block your flow. And so when you think of money as a flow, and this is the piece that blew my mind when I took this course and I learned this, was that it's I forget which one of our speakers shared this, but she was saying how money is a tool and it's all about how you're using the tool. And she used the analogy that when you use a hammer, you could either use a hammer to build a house, or you can use a hammer to drop on your foot and bust open your toe. And so it's the same thing with money. It's a flow. Money is neutral. It's just a neutral thing. Everyone has access to it. It's available to everybody. It's just a flow. It's just an exchange. It's just an energy. So you're either in the flow or you're not in the flow. So if you have money issues, then there's a reason why you have money issues. And that's what's been fascinating me these last 2.5 years since I took this course, is figuring out what inside of me is blocking the money that I want to have. Why am I not the multimillionaire that I envision myself to be, but it's not actually in my reality? There's something that I'm responsible for. And if you get honest with yourself, it's always something that comes back to you and your emotions. So it might be, some of the ones I listed, it might be your insecurity. So if you're in the series and you're watching this today, which Coach Neil Mason, he talks about vulnerability and insecurity, those emotions being rooted to your money. And he talks about how we should be using our insecurities to our advantages because they don't change. Like he was using the example of being like a black male, and I forget, I think he had a single mom. Like I forget all the elements he used that were like his height, he's super tall, like he has all these things that made him like the odd man out. And he talked about how you could either use those to victimize yourself or you can use them to your advantage. And so it was just an interesting conversation. I don't even want to try to reteach his talk because that was like very unique. And so it was a really cool interview, but it reminded me of this piece that I do resonate with very deeply, which is your emotions are blocking your money, your unforgiveness, your resentment, your fear, your scarcity. So if you're always holding on to money, you're afraid there's not enough, you don't have enough, it can't go out, all these things, then you're blocking the flow of money to come in. If you don't give, if you're not generous, you're blocking the reciprocation. You give what you get. And so it's this cycle. And so you get to really be mindful of your actions and your language. The language one is what is like, like saying I can't afford. Get that out of your language, because everything that comes after I am or I, whatever, you're speaking into existence. So if you say I can't afford something, then you're right, you're not going to be able to afford it. I don't choose to make that a priority right now, and my expenses is a different language. And it also will correct you and get you in the mindset of how can I create the money for this to actually be something I can spend money on. So I just thought that was worth bringing up. Also, unforgiveness, worthiness is a huge one. So if you were raised and your worthiness is low, your self-esteem is low, you weren't loved as maybe you should have been or wanted to be as a child, you weren't uplifted, you weren't told you were good enough, you weren't shown you were good enough, you didn't feel good enough, then you probably have a worthiness block. Hi, Carmen. You probably have a worthiness block with your money because that's the conversation that's in your head. You're not worthy of accepting certain money. So then when this goes into entrepreneurs, for example, who set their prices, and this happens with people in 9-to-5s as well, where in corporate, where it's not necessarily them setting their own price, but it's them accepting what they're worth. But you lower your prices because you're not worthy. We talked about this in our last wave of our program, of the conversation when you do set your prices and then just giving stuff away for free and not charging people and not wanting to ask for money because you have this worthiness issue, you have this block, you don't feel like people should pay you. We have one of the speakers in our series who she talks about how women get to make a lot of money and they get to own that and how you can do that. So that one's a really cool interview. It's towards the end, but it's really enlightening to remind yourself that you are worthy to bring in money. You are worthy to make money. You are worthy to have money and sustain money. And most of us are just jaded by our past. The relationship your upbringing had with money from 0 to 8 is what's reflecting in your adulthood. So it's like the lottery syndrome, if you've ever heard of that or not. It's where they talk about how most people who win the lottery will blow the money because they didn't come from money. So it's one of those things where their subconscious is like, we don't have money, we're supposed to be broke, and their conscious is like, oh my God, there's all this money, what's happening? And it always wants to match up. It wants to be equal to what I believe in my subconscious is what needs to be in my conscious. This is why we sabotage relationships. This is why we sabotage success. This is why we block our money, because if we don't feel worthy of a healthy relationship, worthy of money, worthy of a nice home or a nice lifestyle or nice successes, then we will do anything, not even knowingly half the time. Subconscious works without us even knowing. We do all kinds of actions like, oh my gosh, I'm sick and I'm not going to go to that conference that it could change my life. Or, oh, I'm lazy, I don't feel like going, I'd rather just stay home and work on my website instead of going to this place that would probably have been the turning point of your life. But your subconscious knows that change is upon it and that it's going to level up from matching up to where it thinks you should be, and it will sabotage. So really be mindful. This is why affirmations are so important. This is why vision boards are so important. This is why community and accountability is so important. This is why who you surround yourself with is so important, because when you see better, you're around better, then it rubs off on you and it helps you have that glimpse of believing. Hi, Lena. Hi, guys. And this is my mother, exactly. I think we've talked about this, Lena. So yeah, it's like, so true. God knew I needed crystal. And oh, thank you, Carmen. I love you so much. So yeah, it's just one of those things where we get to, one of the things that I want to make sure that we're mindful, whether you're in the series, you're not in the series, whatever, because how we show up to one thing is how we show up to everything, is what is your conversation? It's like that meme that's like, what you think. So what are you thinking? And what you're thinking is a root cause from your 0 to 8. It's from your childhood. It's what you were brought up. It's what you saw. It's what you're seeing. And so check your subconscious. There's this book. I recommend everybody who does my program to read this book, but it's The War of Art. But read this book and find how powerful the mind is. Like, there's a chapter in here in the beginning where he talks about the subconscious is so powerful and overpowering that, like I said earlier, when it senses that, like, if you commit, let's say you're gonna do the next wave of the Fox Project, like Carmen's like, oh my gosh, God sent me crystal, like, thank you, that's awesome. So like, let's say you're thinking of doing the next wave of the Fox Project, or let's say you're going to the zone event that I've been talking about, which I'm like, oh, can't wait. Or let's say, like, my mom is doing the leadership program that I just finished, that I've recommended to so many people. She's heading into it tomorrow. And it was so funny because she committed to it back in March. So from March to August, she has had so many things come up, try to stop her from going. Literally, she would call me, like, I think it was 3 times that she called me and was like, I think I'm gonna have to wait. I think I'm not gonna be able to make it. And every time I'd be like, no, Mom, you're going. Like, that is a sign you need to go even more so. So resistance, opposition, things that are telling you, my babysitter canceled, I have a headache, I don't feel good, I don't feel like it, I'm not like whatever, like my car broke down, whatever obstacle gets in the way of your commitment to being a better version of yourself, or your commitment to making more money, that is usually a sign that you need to lean into that, and you get to keep pushing forward into that, because it's all a part of the mental, like, mind game of no, we need you to stay the same, we need you to stay stuck, we need you to be broke, we need you to be unloved, we need you to be unsuccessful, we need you to be unworthy, we need you to be all these things that your subconscious believes you should be from that childhood mindset. And it's just not the reality that you get to create. So hopefully this was helpful. I hope you guys are following along with the series. I cannot tell you how much I have learned from these different leaders, and that's why I'm doing this. My inner circle membership program is basically me bringing in all the mentors that I hire and work with, and we have set up themes. So the month of August, our theme is money, and so I brought to you guys these 12 speakers who are educating us on money, and then collectively as a community we're holding ourselves accountable. So you don't have to be in the inner circle or the program to be a part of this money challenge. It's free. The link is in my bio. But if you are in the inner circle, we have even more levels of the implementation that we're doing as well. But I just really invite you to be a part of it, because learning and then applying what you learn is really powerful in your life. And since I'm plugging right now, I'm just gonna also say, if you haven't heard about the zone event that I've been talking about, DM me or private message me. I can't put it in my swipe up. For some reason it doesn't work, but it's an event that I went to 3 years ago that literally changed my life, and I go to every year. And it's just like this big injection of motivation and inspiration on how to monetize your movement. This year the theme is all in legacy, so it's like how to create your legacy and actually make impact in the world, but also make money, and then what all the current industry trends are and how to do that. So anyways, thank you guys for listening. Go check those things out, and I will see you tomorrow.